This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Time for 3 more quick fan questions, and then we can
Yeah.
wrap it up. This has been a good time today. All right, let's do it real quick. We'll get back to this whole Hogan turn here. Charlie Thrower, good friend of the show, good buddy of mine. He says, Jim Ross, Hulk's turn is arguably the #1 heel turn. Mr. Ross, what would be #2 in your opinion?
Well, that's a good one for a cold question.
That is a cold question. Sorry. Yeah. #2 all time, a heel turn in wrestling. Wow. 80s, 90s, 2000s. Shocking heel turn.
Yeah. Well, you look at
what about the old Austin heel turn at WrestleMania? I mean, that was controversial.
It was controversial. I don't know how productive it was.
Yeah.
I've made that clear. And the reason we did it was because Vince said we owe it to Steve to give it a try. That's what he wants to do.
Maybe that's what gave him cold feet about doing anything with Cena.
Maybe. I don't know. Could be. It may have influenced the decision.
Yeah.
It's hard to say what
#2.
Nikita Koloff's turn from a Russian bad guy to a pro-American babyface
with the crew cut.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, because he was such a heat magnet as the bald Russian.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Whatever you said. From Robbinsdale High School in Minnesota.
That's right.
But there's been so many significant. I mean, back in the territory days, it was kind of a lost art. You had one major turn a year, maybe. So it's just hard to say because it's such a ongoing fabric of our business that it's hard to say one or two. Nikita stands out to me as a pretty significant one.
Yeah, when he came out and followed Dusty to the steel cage ring in Greensboro, and the Four Horsemen were attacking, and they became the superpowers.
Right.
Yes, that was a huge turn, and the crowd almost fell. That was a big one. You're right. That moment.
I think Butch Reed turning heel on Dog was big in Mid-South, and of course when Dog bolted, Butch should have been the heir apparent to Dog's spot as far as the in that role. I don't want to sound negative or bad. I don't mean it to be, but as an African-American babyface, Butch Reed was the answer to Dog's departure. But we went another route because Cowboy was hell-bent to develop another black star on the Dog's level. And there just weren't any people they didn't want to try to replicate the Dog with a guy that didn't have the physical stature that JYD had when he was in shape.
And was that a heel to a face turn, JR?
That was a face to heel turn.
Face to heel. Okay, yeah, because Nikita would have been the opposite. And Charlie's asking.
Nikita was a heel to babyface.
Yeah. So he's asking what was a good
the elements about all those things and what we saw today is surprise.
The surprise.
And the fact that the fans have already developed some degree of emotional investment into the characters. So I'm thinking, God, I wish I could think of some more great. One of my sentimental favorites for years and years in the Leroy McGurk's and Cowboys territory, where I started in '74, Skandar Akbar, the general, was Danny Hodge, my boyhood hero, tag team partner. They won the regional belts and all. They did all the things that you would expect a team to do, Hodge and Akbar. And then all of a sudden they rode together. They were my first riding duo. When I first got in the business, I was in the car with Hodge and Akbar, and they loved it because I did all the driving.
Yeah.
And they were the veterans, and all I needed to do was shut my mouth and listen and go to school. More often than not, Hodge would go to sleep, and Akbar and I would talk football or wrestling or psychology or whatever it was. So that was a significant one there because that was a real adjustment. They had to break up. They were doing all their they were traveling together. They shared hotel rooms. They get a hotel room with 2 beds, and I would wrap myself into the very sanitary bedspread
Oh man.
and sleep on the floor.
Oh no, thank you.
But I didn't have, I was making $25 to $40 a day, all in, and it's hard to believe that you could even get by on that and actually have money to send home. There wasn't much money sent home, so to speak. That's why I knew that being a referee was fun. You got to perform, you got to be in the ring, but it was not going to be my long-term solution. And I did a good job. I put my heart into it, and I got taught a lot about the psychology of the business by being in the ring. When you're refereeing matches with guys like Dory Jr. and Harley, for example, you can't help but learn. You learn from the pregame, and you learn from the in-ring. And I hear guys now, I see where talents are, they go over their matches endlessly to memorize what they're going to do next, which is exactly the wrong thing to do. There's no spontaneity. There's no audibles called. What's working, you might not have figured something was going to work, and it did, and all of a sudden, because you didn't memorize it as a part of your repertoire that night, you just move on from it. So you're leaving behind something that was working, which makes no sense. But I think that helped me a lot there. But Akbar turning on Hodge, and I remember Akbar had some friends. He and Hodge had mutual friends in Shreveport because we were there a lot doing TV every other week doing taping and every week doing interviews. They called Akbar and said, "Well, we know all this is showbiz. Don't worry about it. Just like to see you." So they lured Akbar to a little bar that he and Hodge used to go to, and Akbar thinking it's going to be just okay. They get it. Here we'll be all right. And he walks into the bar, and it's very, very dark, and he started getting beat with cue sticks. Multiple man assault with him with the pool sticks, because that's how serious they took the angle.
Yeah,
they bought it. They couldn't believe that Akbar turned on Danny, who had been so loyal and so positive and such an integral part of Akbar's career. So that was a pretty significant turn in our little territory. But I give that as an example. And if you're a fan of San Francisco, or you're a fan of Portland, Kansas City, every territory had those same moments, only with different people.
The only other one I thought of, JR, while you were talking was that was a big one I saw was the Andre heel turn to set up WrestleMania 3. So him kind of the clash with Hogan in the pit, the ripping of the cross. That seemed to be another one that a lot of
that was very good. Yeah, that's why I say it's hard to.
Yeah, there's so many out there.
Yeah, a lot of good ones.
All right, let's keep it moving here. Chris Carnage comes in. He said, "We've often heard Eric had Hogan and Sting in mind for the third man. Had you been in Eric's shoes, who would have you chosen to be the third man? If it was still Hawk, what would you have done differently, if anything?"
Well, I thought that angle we saw today was pulled off perfectly. I thought those guys all did a good job. Everybody involved. We mentioned the referee. Everybody did their role. So I don't know therefore, I don't know, other than just my ego talking, I would do anything differently.
Yeah.
It seemed like they dotted all their I's, crossed all their T's, and they executed. But I think he definitely, Eric went with the right guy. Hogan was long overdue. It's a brand new character for him. As you pointed out, it's a new start. So it seemed like that worked, and they're still, I don't want to say protecting Sting, but it's funny that everybody there knew that Sting was the next guy, but they just never got around to getting it done. Really. And honestly, oh yeah, well, don't you remember he won the belt in the Great American Bash? Whatever. Yeah, I remember it. But I didn't get it all done.
Yeah.
There was no long-term commitment. He didn't have a run with a title, and that's what he needed. So, but Hogan was definitely the choice. I thought, like I said, the little things I saw in the match and how they worked the match, how they used the referee in a good way, where they could cheat and not be caught. You can't call what you don't see. See what you call what you see. As simple as that. Harley raced him that one time. You see me cheating, break. And I'm not, he said, if I won't be upset at you, I won't be upset at myself for letting you catch me. He said, but let me know, I'll let you know this, kid. You ain't going to catch me if I don't want you to.
Mm.
That's how good a cheater. They turn their back.
Yeah.
So they want to throw a thumb to the throat or a illegal fist. That's why when fists were illegal, you could do things like that, and they all meant something. Now, fists are just as illegal as the headlock.
Right.
It's just got lax, lazy. And if you told the boys, well, you got to quit throwing fists.
Didn't the eye rake used to be illegal too? Was that illegal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Of course. Thumb to the throat.
Yeah.
You know, I referee matches where a karate thrust to the throat were a disqualification, and the key is the guy selling it, you know, like he's dying. So it just continues to change and evolve, and that's why when you have less rules, you have less rules to break for the heels to utilize, and I think that's a negative.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.